All right. Let's share the link.
Is Matt going to be with us?
I don't think so. I think it's just going to be me and you. All right. Hold on. Let a few people roll in.
What?
We'll let a few people roll in.
Okay.
I said. Maybe. We'll see if anybody pops in here momentarily. If I don't even know if we're freaking recording audio for Matt, but it's fine. All right. So we got somebody. Somebody's in. I love you. We're gonna give this another try. So if this dies, that's it. we'll try it again maybe later this weekend or something or next week. But we'll give it a go. So we were talking about the roster a little bit. You were talking about the starting lineup, Dan, how you projected it correctly. I said I didn't anticipate Corey Thomas getting the start because Wardle seems like the type of guy that maybe values or favors um guys he knows and trust, but I think there's a lot to like in Corey Thomas. I like that he does the little things. He doesn't seem to be a me guy, which is good. I think he's a good character fit. That's a positive thing. I think we talked about Corey Dillon, my back compared to his back. I imagine it's a bit of a struggle to recover from something like that. Hopefully, he's able to come along and evolve into a contributor, a guy that can come off the bench, knock down some big threes. He shot nearly 40% or something like that at Winona State.
Something like that, right around 39.
Okay,
just shy of 40.
Better than me, which is a good thing. And obviously we talked last spring after the season was over about Zeke returning from Rhode Island. We have him as well. And then as I'm running out of breath, I encourage you, Dad, to jump in. Talk about
I'm enjoying watching you struggle.
Talk about some of the other additions to the roster and kind of where you think they fit. I know you really like Jaquan Johnson, what he brings to the table, and I do think there might be a struggle at times for him to find minutes, especially if the guards are playing well. But with Zeke and Duke and even Damarian Birch, but I do think there's a role for him, especially if he can prove that when he's on the floor, he's able to get things done.
Let's start out with something that should, I think right now, with everybody's being given. What are we looking at as the starting five? And I'm looking at Duke, Zeke, Christian Davis, Almar, and Darius. Once he gets his knee healthy, in absence of Darius, it's going to be Corey Thomas. So then what are you looking at when you're subbing in? You just can't say I first guy off the bench. Well, you're not going to bring Bully in, or let's go. You're not going to bring Birch in for Atlason per se. And you're gonna substitute by the need that you're wanting to bring a player in, give a player, a blow, so on, and your opponent. There's going to be some opponents that we have to have meta in there because of the size of some of the guys that's playing down low.
And we'll talk more about SEMO later, but you anticipate that SEMO might be one of those teams, right? With some of their big bodies.
More so Washington State, but yeah. Well, see, SEMO's got 3 7-footers. They're not going to play all three of them at the same time.
Wouldn't that be something?
They possibly could, but there's two definitely that you're not going to play at the same time. And they're the two bigger ones, as far as weight wise, because you got, I don't know if you want to go into the SEMO stuff right yet.
No, not really. But you're basically saying some of this is going to be matchup dependent.
Yeah,
which makes sense, and I think that more about what Bradley's going to do to fill the void left by specifically Malvi Leons. And as I noticed now, the internet's getting goofy.
Okay,
hopefully we hang in here though.
So yeah, my answer to that right now is the closest person you have statistic wise is Darius. As far as blocks and steals, he was less than 10 in each category of those two categories, behind Malvi.
But he's also not a guy. I don't know if we
No,
have
he's
this
not
guy
a
on the
he's not
roster, but
gonna
he's not a guard 1 through 5 guy. I mean, and those
No.
are rare, right?
Right. You know, but I mean, a lot of Mal's blocks weren't out on the circle either. You
Sure.
know?
So I want to say this, like, and based off what I saw the other night a little bit and what we've seen in the past, there's one guy who I think could be like the defensive X factor on this team, but my interpretation is like he's got a wannabe, and that's Zeke.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I think that Zeke has the skill set to be a serious problem on the defensive end,
Mhm.
but defense is such a, and this is not an indictment on Zeke, but like defense is such a want-to thing, and
Right.
I think that he's going to be relied on so heavily on the offensive end at times that it is tough to. I mean, I'm sure in Wardle, everybody would love players. You're getting their best effort on both ends of the floor, but unfortunately, human nature that's not always the case. And I think that I don't think Zeke loves defense, right? That's just my
Well,
interpretation,
he's
and I
gonna
think
get
that
he's getting better,
yeah,
you
and
know?
well, I think after he got taken out, Wardle called the timeout early in the second half, pulled him, and when he went back in the game and we started pressing there a little bit,
Yep.
he definitely was playing at another gear and
Yeah.
playing with better effort, and that was, and if he can do that, sustain that throughout a
Mhm.
game, I mean that's going to be
Right.
huge.
No, I think statistically, after Darius, the better defender is Christian Davis, although he wasn't showing that Wednesday.
Christian didn't have his best night, but you know what I
No.
like about Christian is that even though like his
He
shots weren't
keeps
falling,
plugging.
maybe he didn't quit playing hard. He didn't
Yeah.
quit giving great effort, and really I thought that was the case across the board. Now I do think that I want to say it was getting late in the first half, and we went our big run early. Held them to what 2 points for the first like forever, and there was a stretch though, and I remember I turned around to Kevin behind us, and I was like, we looked like we're a little gassed. Just I felt we looked a little sluggish, and I think that Milliken did too a little bit, but there was definitely a stretch of time where I'm like, man, like we look tired, and that's to be expected this early. These guys, they're in great shape, I'm sure, but they're still not. They're in midseason
Well,
form. They've been practicing hard. Also, it's different going out there playing a full game against another opponent, and
yeah.
that takes a lot out of you mentally, which people
Right.
underestimate how much that takes a toll on you physically. And so it was kind of maybe good to work through some of those things.
Hey, it's good to have a little adversity in a exhibition game.
And you know what? I was thinking that at times, although like it was frustrating as fans, and I'm sure it was frustrating for the coaching staff. But there were moments where like we were struggling, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I bet you Wardle loves this.
Yeah.
He loves that we're facing this
Yeah.
adversity, and
Yeah.
these coachable moments where he's able to
Mhm.
teach a lesson, and that's good though. I mean,
Yep.
because I don't know that we would have learned anything, and we come out and everybody wanted to go out and blow the doors off them and beat them by 40, which would have been wonderful. But I don't know that you learn anything
Like
from
the guy
doing
in
that.
front of us. We should be beating these guys by 30.
Okay, that was funny. So let's talk
Yeah,
about
it
it for a
was
minute.
funny.
Like, so and no, and whatever. Like, I am not a basketball guru, X's and O's guy. I just love Bradley, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. I imagine most of us fall in that same category. But there is this it was an older gentleman, even older than the OG, or maybe close. I don't know.
Well,
But
I mean, he had good sound basketball,
well,
what he was wanting to see.
he wanted to see a 1992 offense where Patrick Ewing is posting up on the block and we're forcing the ball inside, and it's just, I mean, I don't know that we got the roster for that. I mean, yeah, meta, but I
Well,
mean, like, I don't know that we're cut out to play that type of
we
game.
weren't setting it up to kick that inside so
Well,
much.
and even late in the game when we were, we're cruising a little bit, and obviously we're playing different combinations of guys working on different things. And this guy just could not get over it, man. He's just like hammering,
Yeah.
like, we need to force the ball inside. I mean, and
Yep.
if you're in here, man, in the chat, whatever, hey, I applaud your passion and your excitement.
Well,
and
I
your
enjoyed it because I mean, hey, that's what being a Bradley basketball fan's all about. I mean, you gotta come, you enjoy it. You want to see these guys, doing the things like that to get it in. Maybe it wasn't the time, but I was looking at it is just an exhibition, and we are running I mean, the guys that were on the floor at one of the particular times was what, two of the freshmen, one new guy, another new guy, a transfer.
definitely some weird combinations.
Oh, there was definitely some combinations that we do not want to see once we start the regular season.
Well, but the thing is, you never know where potential unfortunate injuries will lead you or foul trouble.
Right.
And I think it's nice to at least maybe have a few minutes under your belt in those scenarios.
Yep.
Like, hey, we've done this before. We'll figure it out. But I think there's a lot to like about the roster. We talked a little bit about how we could try to replace what was lost defensively. We didn't even mention Hickman. I mean, obviously Hick was a great on-ball defender. Him and Mal, kind of consensus best two defenders on the team. And definitely going to be difficult to replace. Hopefully Zeke can pick up some of the slack there, and Christian Davis can elevate his game. And I think that Darius is going to be Darius, right?
Yep. I gotta go back to the original question is who's going to replace, like especially Malachi. It's not going to be one guy. It's going to be our defense is going to become way more of a team effort. So it's not going to be just one guy that can come in and replace him, fill his shoes.
Well, I think great defense is a team thing.
Yeah, but when you got 2, 3 really, let's just say 2 really good defenders, like as in Mal and but you got some that are close. Everybody needs to level up. And some of the new guys.
Get an earthquake going on over
there. Yeah,
no,
I just
that
saw
table
that.
alone. You're just shaking.
But then, hey, I'm going to take blame for jinxing Zeke.
You did, man.
I zinked
all
him
your fault.
big time.
You zinked him. That's
he came out and offensively he was just lighting up on fire, and then
you had to turn and say, I don't think he's missed yet.
I haven't seen him miss yet, have you?
And then he didn't make another basket.
I think he missed all but maybe one after that. And I'm like, I'll keep my mouth shut.
Is that a promise?
Yeah. Well,
just trying to find out. I mean,
hey, I do have to say something different was in attendance at the game Wednesday night. 3 officials, all 3 had hair.
That is not something you see very often. That was a good observation. You certainly don't see 3 officials with hair at the same time on the same floor. So definitely a unique occurrence. But let's kind of let's buzz through the non-conference schedule a little bit, and then we'll get into obviously we get in a little bit about the exhibition again if you want. There's anything we missed, and then we'll talk a little bit about SEMO and how things look. But there's some people that aren't too high on the non-conference schedule, and there's not a lot that's going to jump off the page at you if you're just looking at it on paper. And even right now, admittedly, if you look at the KenPom rankings, there's not a lot that impresses, but I think that there are some teams that could have some value as the season goes on. And Dad, I'll let you take over here in a minute and kind of talk about how you think some of these teams are being undervalued in the preseason rankings, if you will. But obviously the big one that's coming up here, we go on the road to Pullman to take on Washington State. That's going to be a big game, but that's another team that sounds like their roster was kind of decimated a little bit, right? And also a head coaching change, correct?
Yep. I haven't gone through completely, totally.
Sure.
But it's kind of similar to Drake, except on a D1 level.
Well, Drake's plays D1. I don't know if you knew that or not.
But my point is
they're Division I basketball team.
A D2 coach went into Drake.
Understood.
Several D2 players. In this case, it's a former Eastern Washington coach with I think at least 4 followed him to Washington State, and 3 of them are very good. So as far as a coaching system,
so kind of one of those teams that you'd hope that I would imagine being I know they left the Pac-12 and they're kind of on an island right now, but being a Pac-5 adjacent program that you would imagine that the talent they're able to pull in there could be at a high level, and you hope that's a game we can go win and that they end up having a great season and progress as the season goes on. San Francisco, that's one that I think is intriguing for sure. I think they might actually, are they the highest preseason, or was it Washington State?
No, the highest preseason, like KenPom ranking. No, that falls to Princeton.
Okay, so see, we don't know what we're talking about here either. So I'm like the guy that was sitting in front of us. I don't know shit. So San Francisco, that's another one though that I think could end up showing some value as the season goes on.
They're 84. KenPom.
Who's that?
San Francisco.
Okay, there you go. And then Santa Clara is another one I think that could turn out to be a nice one to get. And then when we go to Myrtle Beach, opportunities to play, hopefully Princeton and South Florida
Mhm.
would be ideal for us net wise.
Yeah.
And of course, all this is contingent on winning these games,
Right.
right?
Right.
I don't, there's only a couple games here that you could maybe get away with losing, and it not completely destroy your ranking. And of course, that's also contingent on those teams holding up their end of the bargain. But you definitely, with the schedule that exists this year, you can't lose to a SEMO, you can't lose to a Canisius, you can't lose
Nope.
to a UTSA. I mean, we cannot squander any of those games.
Yep.
And is there anything on the non-conference schedule that sticks out to you that you think that people are underestimating the quality of the opponent, or one that maybe people are overvaluing
Well,
slightly?
Months ago or within the last couple of months, I know there'd been several people, on the boards. Really, I guess they described the Myrtle Beach tournament as a dog shit field. Well, not with the teams.
There's not a lot
that
of name recognition. That's fair. I mean, the casual fans are gonna look at it and be like, that tournament sucks.
Right. When you look at the teams that we most likely have the opportunity to meet, I mean, we got the Texas State game's our first game. Then after that, it's going to be the winner of the Princeton. Is it Wright State?
Hopefully, it's Princeton. All right, let's
which
just
should be
pretend it'll be Princeton.
should be Princeton. Okay, so we'll meet them the second day, and then South Florida should, now, even though they just recently lost their head coach, may he rest in peace. They did.
Very polite of you.
Well,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, of course. I'm not trying to. It's just I didn't see that coming. You kind of caught me off guard.
Well, I mean, it's kind of an unfortunate incident with the team, but I mean, and teams can do many different things from a mental side of this. They could either cower back or they could push forward. And South Florida last year was an outstanding team under that first year coach. They went into the NIT and gave some people a little bit of trouble, but they could come back. And I know they lost a few people from last year's team, but they also gained a few very good players. I haven't
So there's opportunity, right?
Yeah.
If we take care of business, there's opportunity.
Yeah. Well,
and let's just face it, if we
KenPom
win them all,
has
it ain't gonna matter, right?
KenPom has them ranked 102. They have us at 92, South Florida at 102, Princeton at 74. So we can go in there and come out of there looking pretty if we can go in there and play Bradley basketball.
Yeah, and that's just it. I think that if we do that, if we play Bradley basketball and play to our potential, that this is a non-conference slate that we should run through, right?
Yep.
And it's don't get me wrong, it's probably it's a little naive to expect that there's not going to be a loss that pops up in there, and it's just the way those are the breaks, right? You have a bad night, things don't go your way, maybe a battle, injury, illness, whatever the case. So, but that being said, this team has the tools necessary to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also though, there's a lot of things I think that need to probably get be improved upon and fall into place. Obviously, getting Darius back is a big part of that.
Right.
I heard you mention earlier, maybe before one of the times we cut off, maybe when we first came back on, I don't remember. But are we going to see him Monday night? Maybe a little. Is he going to dress and maybe just go out there and get a little run to kind of blow the cobwebs out a little bit before we go out and play Washington State?
Healthy, I would like to see him at least play some minutes.
Or maybe he just goes out and warms up and goes through the motions. Who knows?
But
I have no idea.
But because, I mean, well, coach and the training staff, they obviously know best. But I mean, from a fan standpoint, wanting to see, what's he gonna bring us for next Friday? Because Friday night's not a slouch. On the road at Washington State, they're ranked 111 in the KenPom. No other Valley school is ranked as high as they are. In fact, them 5 teams we mentioned: Washington State, San Fran, Santa Clara, Princeton, South Florida. They're all KenPom ranked higher than the next Missouri Valley team.
Okay,
which is Murray State at 113.
All right, so That's it. I mean, there's some mixed opinions out there for sure about the
Mhm.
non-conference schedule, and I don't think that anyone's necessarily wrong. It's one of those things that we'll see how it shakes out.
Well, I
It
think
could break either way, honestly.
and maybe rightfully so, but I know, Bradley fans want good teams to come to the Civic Center, which is very hard to do. Some of these teams were playing Washington State, Santa Clara, they're on the road, the Princeton and possibly South Florida. They're at a neutral court on the road. They're not in the
Yeah,
Civic
but you're going to
Center.
get Washington State back next year. They're going to come back.
Oh
They're coming
yeah.
to Peoria. So,
Yeah.
um, and so you're going to get some of these back. And I think what we have to do, and I don't want to belabor the point because we talked about it a lot last season, but you have to keep improving and become good enough to not be a bad loss.
Right.
And we're, I think, realistically, we're probably a little ways from being that for some of these power schools. But we're kind of still in that little bit of a danger zone where we're good enough to beat you, but not good enough that it's a good loss. And as we continue to improve, hopefully
Well,
build the
hey,
roster, build the culture. I mean, we're moving in the right
I
direction.
tell you
And
what, you asked me with the transfer portal way it is going, is the parity throughout all of college basketball is going to be such that even the big guys.
well, we're seeing it in college football too. And what that is you've got star players, good players who aren't willing to go sit on the bench at one of the big boys when they can go start and play right away other
Mhm.
places.
Right.
Because you can go start um at a group of 5 school in football or whatever, a mid-major in basketball, go start, have a great year, and then still get picked up by one of the big boys in the transfer portal.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's just the way it works. But the fun part is you could get some really talented players playing for some of these mid-major programs, be it for
And
only a
that's
year or two.
slowly what's happening, I
But
think.
it's going to make for some fun seasons and some exciting underdog stories come NCAA tournament time when you have some of
Right.
these teams that get hot and go on a run with great talent that is Power 5 talent, but just
Yep.
not they don't want to sit on the bench at Duke, and so they're at Davidson or
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
somewhere like that.
Yep. I hear you.
So
So what's next?
so we're gonna move on a little bit. Is there anything about the exhibition that you want to talk about anymore? We kind of already hashed it out when we first came back on. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're gonna yeah, they shot, they came out and they made a bunch of threes, but as coach said on the post-game show, that's what you get in these games. Those guys have nothing to lose. They're gonna come out and just chuck them up. We've seen it several times. And you'd prefer it not happen, but it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
I don't really take anything from it negatively. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a lot of them shots that they were throwing up, they being Milliken, they were throwing up. Some of them were, I mean, for most part, I mean, they had guys flying at them,
sure.
so
I mean, and
they
I think
weren't necessarily uncontested
as
shots.
a coach, I've never coached basketball. I've coached other things. As a coach, though, like I said, I think Wardle, you kind of like it a little bit because it's going to be really easy to keep your team engaged.
Right.
Between then and the first game, because you got plenty of stuff you can point at the film and say, guys, this has got to be better.
Right.
We got to work on this. We got to work on that. So on and so forth. Milliken shot whatever they did from three. So we got to be better there. And I think that those are things.
Yeah. And see, it's just like, because for those who don't know, we're big Notre Dame football fans and we listen to Irish Breakdown a lot and follow a lot of what they call on a Sunday night or a Monday, beyond, what do they call it? Got a brain fart.
It's upon further review.
Yeah, upon
Basically,
further
they go
re-
back and watch the film
They
and
watched
break
all
the game
22,
down like
and
in reality.
the coaches see stuff, slow down watching film, and they see stuff that we as the general fans sitting up the stands or in our living rooms watching on TV, they see all the stuff that technically needs to be worked on a lot more than some of us do. And we'll
But
see
we would all be willing to give our opinions if asked, though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll all see something and think it's just terrible, and then end up when you do hear a coach talking about it, he says, actually, that person was actually in a good spot, good position for, whichever. And that's not necessarily just, in Bradley case, it's for, any team, So it's just, I mean, what we see with our naked eye at real speed can be different than what is shown on film.
Right. So let's move on to SEMO. SEMO's coming to town Monday night to take on the Braves, the home opener, the season opener. Hope to see a great crowd. There was a pretty good crowd at the exhibition. I don't think I've seen
No,
a crowd
I
that
haven't
big.
seen a
I
crowd
mean,
that
it wasn't whatever, but I
in a long
mean, for an
time.
exhibition, I haven't seen a crowd like that in a while,
Yep.
and there seemed to be some excitement.
They seem to be engaged.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And hopefully, we expand upon that Monday night with a better crowd. But I got a couple just bullet point questions for you about SEMO, and uh, we joked offline about this, but I've said that I really, really do sincerely trust your opinion of Bradley's opponents, and because you watch these guys, you watch games, you study these guys more so than most people do. You don't just look at a stat sheet. I trust your opinion of Bradley's opponents way more than I trust your opinion of Bradley, because your opinion of Bradley is so clouded in emotion, which is fine, right? It should be. You're a fan, you're a passionate fan. We all are. But when you look at their opponents, you look at it just completely objectively and see it for what it is. And for that reason, I do think that you usually give pretty good analysis on their opponents. So tell me what you think about SEMO. I know like you haven't dove deep on them, but I know you got a little bit of info. So start right off the
Yeah.
top. Give me
Well,
key players.
okay, well, first thing I want to tell you is, I mean, they've got like let's see, they got like 7 transfers, a freshman. So, they've got, a good number of 10, but they still have the same coach. But I'm gonna say 3 key players is a guard. I think their leader, uh, Rob Martin. He's an 11, almost 12 points a game, 3.5 assists, shoots 39% from 3. We got and he's 5'10", got a 6'5" guard, Braxton Stacker. We're gonna have to keep eye on him, because if we don't have a guy, someone on him, following him around, the guy will backdoor you big time. So we need to keep eye on him. And then they got a 7 foot, they're 7 foot center, 265 pounds, David Adada. He doesn't score much. I mean, Meta's got a better line than him. 2 points a game on 10 minutes of playing time per game. This is last year's stats, on 3 rebounds a game. I saw some film on him. He's a big guy, but he's more of a defensive guy in there. I mean, he'll disrupt down low. So, those are 3 key players. With transfers is kind of hard. I mean, there's a couple possible 3-point guys coming in. They got one of the 3 7-footers is a transfer from John Logan College down south. And one thing to note, and I had to go back and look because I saw this, and but he averaged 7.5 points a game, but he had 105 blocks, and I had to look. Is that for just last year, or was that his 2 years at John Logan? And it appears it was last year, just 105 blocks. And if you want something to compare that to, Malavi had what, 55,
Wow.
something like that.
So
So
obviously, they got 3 big dudes you mentioned earlier, 3 7-footers. Obviously, you can't play them all at the same time. I encourage them to do so though, because it'd be hilarious. I think it'd just be wonderful. So obviously there's an issue there to contend with, because we have one, but other than that, I mean, we don't have the most size in the world, I don't think, on our front line. And then a couple guards to keep an eye on, and some things we're gonna have to make sure we're aware of defensively. What would you say are some team strengths
for
SEMO?
them, it's going to be their guard play and 3-point shooting. But I'm not sure exactly what they shoot, but as far as percentage wise, but teams past, they have relied a lot on their 3-point shooting. They try and get it in. Maybe that's why they brought in the guy from John Logan. He's a thinner guy. He's only comes in at 220, so he can
Me
move a
too.
little bit better. But with that, just the guard play.
Sure. Okay. And I think that, I mean, that good for us, right? Because our guards are, I think we've got very talented guards. And then you mentioned their 3-point shooting. I think that after what happened in the exhibition, we've probably spent a lot of time at defending the 3 and running guys off the 3-point line. So those are 2 things I feel good about going into this game that we'll be prepared for. How about weaknesses that we
Weaknesses,
can exploit?
I would say, because once their size, after you get past the 7-footers, obviously, and they're not all 3 going to play, but their next tallest guy is 6'7". Are you still there?
Yes. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. But for that, I think their tallest guy is like 6'7". And I think we're a little more athletic than them, a little quicker. They can be quick, but I think our length can really hurt them, depending on who we all play, have on the floor. But that's going to be their weakness is small.
Okay, so they're small. You say, well, you say length, but they're small, so that's a little contradictory.
Our length.
Our length. Sorry.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they're small, our length is going to hurt them. Like I said,
you said they have 3 7-footers, and you said they're small. Which one is it?
Well, they got 3 7-footers, but they're not going to play 3 7-footers all at the same time. Although you did say that'd be hilarious.
It would be great. So maybe we just put 2 guards. Maybe like Damarian Birch can put Duke on his shoulders, and then
we just can't. We can't if Bully's getting any time. We can't have 2 7-footers in there. We can't have him driving trying to put a shot up.
One thing I think that it's going to be critical for us is our bigs are going to have to stay out of foul trouble. Not just in this game, but that's just got to be a key for the season.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, between Darius, Meta, even Almar, and Corey Thomas. I mean, we cannot get in the foul trouble. Now that being said, we got kind of like an ace up our sleeve a little bit because Connor Linke played a lot of ball down the stretch last season, and he's sitting there ready to come in any point in time. And you just talk about reliable and just he's going to be sound. He's one of those guys. He maybe isn't going to win the game for you, but he's certainly sure as hell not going to lose the game for you,
right?
Because he's going to do what he's supposed to, and he's going to know what's going on and give great effort. And hopefully, one thing I'm going to be looking for in the game, Coach talked on the post game show about getting more vocal leadership on the floor when Duke's not in there. Now, I think part of that, obviously, you don't have Darius either, which doesn't help. But to see if some of these other guys step up and get a little bit more vocal and show some leadership skills. And really, you don't want to see it necessarily be a Zeke or even CD. You'd hope that you maybe start seeing like a Damarian Birch be one of those types of guys.
I think or
even Almar, or one of these younger guys assert themselves a little bit and kind of take the reins when Duke and Darius aren't on the floor.
Right.
Wonderful. Thank you for elaborating. So I'm happy we were able to.
Well, there is another leader that a lot of people, maybe.
You're gonna say Cade, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, and that's just it. And
I don't think he's necessarily going to hurt.
No, I would agree with that. Yes, I would put him and Connor in the same boat. Guys you can trust. They're not going to lose the game for you. They're going to make the right decisions. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. And those are really important things. I mean, there are very talented guys out there that you can't trust to do those things. And so, that's huge. And the guys they have, I mean, my goodness, the amount of experience those two guys have in this program is off the charts collectively.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's got to be invaluable to the coaching staff, I imagine. And so good for them. And then those guys are going to help us this year. I mean, they're just not going to sit on the bench and wave their towel around their heads. Those guys are going to help us.
One of the things that I got out of the red-white game. Now, maybe, I'm not going to bet the farm on it, and I hope people might get a little bit what I'm saying. But what I took out of the red-white game was there wasn't a player that played that day that didn't show me the effort, their own personal abilities, what their liabilities may be. But there wasn't a player there, stop the earthquake, that showed me they can be distrusted at any time on the court, depending on who they're playing with. You understand what I'm saying? I would not be afraid to bring any player off that bench and put in the game if needed to, as long as they're also playing with obviously better players. Wouldn't hesitate to put Gonar in there for a few minutes if we needed and couldn't get Meta in there, had to sit Darius or Almar.
What I love about Gonar is you put him in there, he's just gonna let fly. You know what I mean? He's gonna let fly. I love it.
Got a three.
I know, but I mean, he's gonna go in there, he's gonna play hard, and you love that because a lot of times you see maybe guys that don't play a whole bunch, they get in and they're real tense and they're kind of,
Yeah.
you can tell they don't play a lot and they're not real sure
Well, see,
how to move on the floor. And
the other player is
G just goes for
Gus
it, man.
Rugard. I wouldn't hesitate to put him in there. I mean, if you look at what he did at Morton, in high school, I mean, he's a very good sound player. He can come in and give you some minutes, and maybe there's a learning curve. Obviously, he's a freshman, but a lot of people, I think, get that stigma of a scholarship player versus a walk on.
I mean, let's be honest. In most cases, that's a fair stigma. So
yeah, I'm not really. I'm not.
You see, this is what I'm saying,
it.
and this is what I was saying earlier. When it comes to your evaluation of Bradley, I take it with a grain of salt because you just love all these guys, and that's great. We all do.
Well, yeah.
But to the point that you're not able to look at it objectively at all.
Well, with
whatsoever.
Gus, I mean, I've looked at his stat line from last year at Morton. I'm like, did no one offer this kid?
I mean, is East Peoria on the schedule this year? Am I not? Is East Peoria and Canton on the schedule?
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're not the only teams that a Morton would play.
All right, fair enough. So
moving on, was one of the better teams in the area last year.
You love the roster top to bottom. Wardle could just draw the starting five out of a hat.
Oh, no. Don't get me wrong. That's what I warned you about. I said, don't take me wrong on this.
I'm not. I know what you're saying.
We saw lineups.
What you're saying is
work.
What you're saying
Wednesday.
What you're saying is that we've got a roster full of guys that really care, that are all bought in, and that are rowing the boat in the same direction. Just pull out all the cliches, but they're going to be a group of guys, I think, that we're going to have a lot of fun watching this season. And I don't think we're ever going to have to worry about these guys being, connected and playing as a unit. That's kind of one of those things that just seems like a given with this group. And that's not something that most teams can say. I mean, that's not something that, and it's not something we should be taken for granted by us as fans either. So, looking forward to SEMO Monday night. Hopefully we get a good crowd. We'll see. I hope at some point in time things start to shift where the group of folks that don't come out until conference, Valley season starts, hopefully those people come around and get out to the game and enjoy some of these non-conference games. This team deserves your support for sure. And it's just great, man. I love the little chat going on X that we have, that, we got about 20 of us that are in there and going back and forth. And it's just a group of people, man, that just love Bradley basketball. And the group of people in the Peoria area and whatever across the country that love Bradley basketball is a massive group.
We're playing San Francisco. They're 10 spots ahead of us. Well, not quite.
Yeah, but it's a game that, I mean, that's a good game.
That's going to be
a quality opponent.
Come out, let's fill the arena. That's going to be a very, very good game.
Quality opponent coming to town. And so lots to look forward to this season. Really appreciate you guys sticking with us through the internet issues. Hopefully, I mean, I know now even it's still choppy. Apologize for that. Hopefully we'll get it straightened out before next time. It might be this new setup we got with me and Dad on separate feeds, and maybe that's not helping. But we'll see what we can do to improve it before we go at it again. Hopefully we can get back with you before the Washington State game and talk about our victory over SEMO, and looking forward to our trip out to Pullman. And other than that, man, really excited that Bradley basketball is back. Really excited to be joining you guys for Braves Talk. Pumped. Appreciate all the participation and support. It's great. We just love doing this, man. Love talking Bradley basketball.
Yep.
And
hey, if you see us at the arena on Monday night, hey, don't hesitate.
There you go. OG will be signing autographs behind section 122 or 122A. Whatever is that word? Is that where we sit? Is it
221A?
221A up in the corner there.
Got the can on one side and the
cheap
bar
seats
on the other.
Of
the entrance.
But yeah. Anyhow, looking forward to seeing you guys out this season, and hopefully we can plug a few of you guys in here along the way to kind of come on and chat with us about the Braves as we go. So a few housekeeping things as we close things out. You can find us on X at Iceman and Coach. Obviously TikTok, INC Sports, where you'll be able to find Braves Talk content, and of course Iceman and Coach content and Fire Footwear content from Matty Ice. We are on Apple and Spotify for audio. Please rate, review, share this on YouTube. or excuse me, share the YouTube link to your friends on social media. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell, all those fun things everybody says all the time. Honestly, man, appreciate you guys showing up. And Dad, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
Nope, I think I'm good. So
All right.
can't wait till Monday.
All right, we'll see you
Let's
on
get
Monday
it
night.
going.
Go Braves. I don't have any outro music because Matt's got all that stuff. So we're just gonna cut it off here. Go Braves, everybody. Have a good night.